Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you were listening to the Angel Rock broadcast to you out of New Orleans, Louisiana on United Public Radio Network. I am your host, Lorilei Potvin. A little bit about myself. I am, sorry guys, we got some messages here. I am a clairvoyant medium. I am also a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher and mentor, and I'm also a registered nurse. If you've never been to my show before, I say I cover all aspects of kind of life, if you will, some of the strange, some of the unusual, some of the incredible, some of the positive. And my guests that I have on my show, whether it's through their personal or their professional lives, they are what they're doing, the work, or it could be just fun things that they're doing, but they're making a positive change for humanity. So, and tonight it is actually, we are broadcasting to you, I should say, from Canada. We're in the middle of Canada, but it is a holiday here. It's Family Day. And so we are going live tonight with my other half. We do many shows. He is on the network himself. He has his own show on Thursday nights, The Delicious Recipe at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And we have the Dell. Welcome, the Dell.
Hello, how's it going? I just checking here. Are you on airing on YouTube there as well?
Just on, sorry, I was just going to say, so if you're watching the show, you can watch it on UFO Paranormal Radio on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch. You can watch me on LinkedIn under Lorilei Potvin. You can also see it on my YouTube channel. And because we're going to be talking about a few sensitive topics, that we decided that it'd be better that we just don't chance it with our main United Public Radio Network YouTube channel, which is actually also, under UFO Paranormal Radio Network. And I apologize for the distractions. I kept getting these messages popping up that things weren't streaming where we want them. So hopefully you can see it. So if you're listening, come and watch the show. You can see it. There's a variety of pages, like I said. Let's see, we got a guest here. We've got Joe Montaldo here. I don't know why he's here, but we will find out. Hey, Joe. I don't know if he disappeared or not. Well, Joe Montaldo will give him a shout out. He is actually the owner of UPRN and usually produces us. LOL, hello. Yeah, he chickened out on us, guys. He chickened out. You're going to get to see his wonderful face. So instead, you get us this evening. And nice to see him. We don't get to see him as often now that we produce our own shows. But again, like I say, I want to give him a huge shout out because without his network and our UPRN family, we wouldn't have this opportunity to be broadcasting to you. So I just found out, Del, that there was, in Canada, there was a vote at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this evening. Excuse me, we're going to be very careful with the language that we use, considering now that the outcome of that vote can be very serious for us as Canadians, is that the Emergency Measures Act that Mr. JT, I'll call him, came up with last week. It really wasn't official until it was voted on in Parliament, which happened about 2 hours ago. And sadly, most unfortunately, it was approved to go through with it. So that's going to be a scary opportunity for us because there's been talk of by the Deputy Prime Minister of our country to make this permanent, being able to control any bank accounts that they want. Their next targets apparently are anybody who support the previous President Trump. So it's going to be an interesting scenario. What do you think on that?
Yeah, that's I guess that was the whole part about this whole overreach of the government and I guess cracking down on civil disobedience, I guess you would say in a way. And then
yes,
people that are in power, they can basically take away your livelihood, imprisonment. There's fines, take away your passport. It's a whole bunch of
your bank account. Hey, Dave, nice to see you. Welcome.
It just comes into a whole mess of things there where like I said many times before, is that government should take care of making the country better, making life better for the rest of its inhabitants, maintaining that the way of life. So everything should be better for you, and they're not putting you into sort of a like a police state.
Well, I did get a video earlier. I didn't get a chance to send it to you. Now, I don't know if there's any truth to it or not, but it was off of TikTok. It looked like a lady that was probably in her mid 60s or so, and she couldn't stop laughing and giggling. She was from Canada, and she was stitched with another TikToker, meaning you can join people's videos. And it was somebody that was wearing the anonymous mask. And I can't verify this. I'm just sharing what I saw. She claims, and this gentleman who was joining her anonymously, that hackers have got into certain bank accounts here in Canada with people that have a lot of money to make it look like they've donated to certain causes that will cause all Canadians, whomever supports it, to lose their bank account and all the money in it. So that was certainly interesting. I don't know if that's happening for sure or not, but interesting. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, what was it? I saw something about this one sort of guy. I can't remember what his name is. He sort of doesn't matter what his sexuality is,
Mhm.
but
Oh, I know what you're going
right.
to say.
But anyways,
Mhm.
he had bragged on a TikTok, and it went, I guess, pretty viral. And he had said that he was the hacker that hacked the Give Send Go accounts, and he was the one that sent doxed everybody that had given money and sent that to the CBC, and that's the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation here in Canada, and then that was what the RCMP used to and to use for later on there, that they said that I guess that the new sheriff in town in Ottawa that took over, that they're going to be going through all this, all the people that had donated, and they'll be coming door to door to either arrest or to
Mhm.
fine or to freeze their accounts.
Excuse
And
me.
then I was watching something there today, and the person that had gone and done this, I guess he was under a fake name. Somebody went and doxed him, and now he's crying that people know who he is and where his address is and stuff like that, right? So he was, it's sort of when it came the other way around, right? When the shoe went onto the other foot, and now he's super upset, right? And
Well, what you put out is what you get back eventually. So, for people that don't know, like I said, if you're just joining us late, we're in Canada, so we're updating people sort of with what the latest is on Canada. We're going to be very careful about what we talk about, mainly because the person in charge, I won't even use any titles for him, is if you support what was going on, the movement that has spread around the world, it will be starting in the US on the 23rd of February, scheduled, I believe, to arrive in Washington, D.C. on March the 6th. And that should be interesting because the beautiful thing about the United States is they have an amazing constitution. I was just saying this to Dave the other night, that, and I've said it to many of my friends in the US, those gentlemen many centuries, well, not many centuries ago, but centuries ago, that set up your constitution. I don't know if they had a crystal ball or what they did, but holy cow, you guys are much better protected. Because I will tell you, I have just recently discovered, and I don't think we ever had a need to know this, that the Canadian people have zero any way whatsoever to remove a leader in charge. Now there's a viral, I guess, post, and there's another video of somebody calling our Governor General's office, who was supposed to be the representative of the Queen. And there's this rumor going around it that if they receive 985,000 letters or phone calls for that Canadians register a vote of no confidence in the leader of our country, that he can be removed. And that is absolutely fake because right below that, there was a link. And I don't think many people stopped to read the article. I did. It says right in there, there's no way for us to do it. It has to come from our legislature and it has to come from our Senate, and then they might do something.
yeah,
But apparently,
Parliament, yeah.
mhm. So what said legislature? So apparently, the vote of no confidence was done this evening as well in Parliament, and that too was, I guess, turned down. So we're going to keep continuing here for a long time. So I was talking to a friend in Australia, give her a shout out, Jody, and she went to what was going on in Canberra in Australia. This has started a movement all over the world, which is beautiful. Excuse me. And she went the first week, and she told me that I guess their news was reporting there was maybe 100,000 people. Sorry, your headphones are going crazy. And there was actually, she said, about 1.5 million people there. And she said it was one of the most beautiful things to do. Same as many people we've heard that gathered in Ottawa here as well, that it was nothing but peace and love and kindness. I know in Canada, in Ottawa, crime was down 90%. The people that were there were shoveling snow. They were feeding the homeless, giving out tents, going out. It was a really beautiful thing. Anyways, there was no problem, but the problem started last weekend. Same amount of people showed up, if not more, in Canberra. And they were told that there was an acoustic device, you'll probably remember, an LRAD machine, I guess, as the term, which puts in out audio, except people started burning and blistering and feeling like they were burning from the inside out, including children. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of videos out there. People's skin is turning black. They're turning black, having issues with major, I don't know how else to put it, it's not brain fog, but confusion, brain issues, all kinds of stuff. And I did see a video tonight that it looks like, I forget what the name is. I meant to write it down, but it's basically they were microwaved, and there's video of it. And it looks like it's the machines were disguised to look like LRAD machines, but they said that's supposed to cause audio, and that's just about it. There was no audio. Like people were just burning. Like, how do
Hmm.
you do that to your people? We've had a lot happen here as well. So I don't know. What's your thoughts, Del? Where do you think we're going with all this? Or what's our way out? Or is there a way out?
Well, I don't think there is going to be anything that's going to happen. Like there is no way out. It's just gonna. This is just how it's going to be. Like said this many times as well. Once governments put new mandates and powers and stuff like that into place, that they never remove them. And that was part of the parliamentary talks. There was yesterday or today, and they were saying like a lot of people are saying, like, what do you need these emergency measures for? And all JT kept on saying is that we have the tools. We have the
Mm-hmm.
tools just in case. We have the tools now,
Mm-hmm.
and without these tools, and that's the way that it's going to be. Is that it'll be something once it'll go into effect, it'll never leave again, and it's just it's just a sad state of affairs that we've our country has gone to this sort of a place. And on the other part there too is that you were saying there is a lot of American, well, the only really one is Fox in the States that have sort of been following what's been going on here in Ottawa and that. And they started looking into the part about what our legal government positions are and stuff like that, what our Charter of Freedoms are and what our rights are here. And they looked at sort of some of them started looking at it and going, yeah, we are totally different than what is in the States there and in other countries. And a lot of people that have been reporting around this around the world and that they figure that they can't, since we're all part of like Five Eyes or we're all these free democratic nations, that our laws and the way our governments go are sort of semi-similar, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not. Like that's, and I think people are starting to realize that.
There's still a lot of people, though. I was absolutely shocked. And I actually called in live to Alex Jones today. So I want to thank him for taking my phone call. And we talked a little bit about what was going on in Canada. And he had quite a few choice words for Canada, and thanked him for the support. But the thing is, I don't know what we're going to do because, like you said, unless short of a miracle here, and you may get one. You never know. Miracles happen. He also mentioned, by the way, on Twitter. That's why. Sorry, I was losing my train of thought there for a second. Um, he mentioned about Twitter and the comments on there. I happened to see some of the things that happened live, and I said it on a show today. I said I've worked in critical care and seen many an awful thing, but to watch that live, wow, especially the elderly lady, because not only was she elderly, there's rumors going around that she was going to throw her motorized scooter. Well, I know I can't lift a motorized scooter. Maybe you could. I know you probably could. You're really strong. But this lady was, if you need a motorized scooter, you have mobility issues. Plus, she she was probably, I'd say, early 70s. But the part that was really sad that happened, I'm going to mention in a minute what happened. If you haven't seen it, it's gone viral. But she's also a clan mother, so which means she is part of the First Nations people. And a clan mother is very, very high up there as an elder. One of the most respected positions. I've spoken to many clan mothers actually across Canada, just with podcasting and meeting people. So I know the First Nations people are not happy, and I don't blame them. Nobody knows what's happened with this lady. I did see an update, it looked like from her niece, that she had many broken ribs and a lot of some head trauma. But what had happened was people were standing downtown. They were playing music, having a great time. People were hugging, and the horses came, RCMP came in with horses and just plowed through the people and plowed right over top of her and another gentleman. Nobody had time to throw anything. Nobody was throwing anything. And then I do know we've received evidence that there are, how do I want to call them? Riot police. I knew right away when I saw the uniforms because they were army green and they had no crest or patch on them. Just occasionally they would have like one of them would have like a capital letter on one of their, I think it was their left shoulder. And there's been evidence of certain planes from, well, I guess I could spell it, UN in North Bay, Ontario. And it's about 4 hours from Toronto, isn't it, Del? It's pretty close to Toronto compared to us because we always get mixed. People always think we're North Bay where we live, right?
Yeah, about 3.5 4 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Canada is in a sad state of affairs. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's really sad. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know. I know many a Canadian that has left and actually moved to Mexico, believe it or not,
Mhm.
because they're
I
not.
watched
I
the
know
I
what.
watched the follow up on that where they talked to this clan mother,
Mhm.
and she had went through what had happened there. I guess when she got trampled and knocked
So
down,
they
and
did
then
an interview with her. She's okay then.
yep.
Okay,
Well,
because nobody had known.
she's got a couple broken ribs there, and she's got bruising on the backs of her thighs and that. And said she had said when she was down on the ground that a couple as the front line of the police came forward through the horses that she was kicked several times in the legs and in the back,
Hmm.
and then she was scooped up by the I guess the frontline ralliers and that and pulled back into away from the line. And so this had come out, that video, or I guess that had come out on Twitter, because this is what I watched this earlier today. And when she was talking there, and there was a lot of comments that was through there, and a bunch of the officers that were involved, either they were riding the horses or at the front there, had written comments that that was awesome. They were laughing at it. And it says, yes, we should have got more people. And so people had gone and put their pictures up there too of who these cops were and what their names were. So you can check out that little. I think it was only like about 7 minutes long. You can find
Where
that one
was
on
it from?
YouTube. What's
Because I
that?
know Rebel News had also broken a story that there was a WhatsApp group called 2022 Musical Ride. And that's actually a thing. It used to be the RCMP. Those horses are very well trained. And they used to go, I mean, I've seen them as a kid. They come through cities and you buy tickets and you go and watch, and the horses do all these formations and everything. It's called the Musical Ride. And they broke I guess somebody got into the group or something and broke the news that they said they couldn't wait to get their jackboots on and start
Yeah,
hurting people. And that's what happened, guys. They went after veterans that have represented us in many a war. Like I said, it was really sad. These were peaceful people. And I don't know if they were hoping that these people would retaliate and fight back, but you really couldn't, because if you did, then you just kind of played into the hands of what the prime minister is putting out there, that was saying what they were all about, and they weren't. They really weren't. You could see it anywhere. It was all over social media. It was everywhere. You could watch live streams. You could see what was going on. It's quite interesting in the way that, I mean, the love and peace that was out there. And I mean, I think they even interviewed somebody that was homeless, and even they said, I mean, my gosh, we're being fed. There's clean clothes. There's tents that they're providing, and what have you. No, it was really sad. I encourage you, if you haven't taken a look, and we're just reporting what we've seen. We weren't there. And, as we always say on my show and on Dell's show, feel free, if anything, resonates with you or you're not sure about, check it out yourself. Take a look at it. There is one thing I did want to talk about. Well, kind of mentioned with what happened last week. There was an excellent live stream presentation from Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, Dr. Paul Alexander, who has worked for the WHO. He's worked with the Trump administration, and he is, I think the way he explained it, has a Jamaican accent, that he has a Canadian citizenship as well as, I believe, an American citizenship. And then we had, who was our third one? Dr. Byron Birdie. He's Canada's top virologist. And they put some really interesting information out there that you may want to check out. They're not fringe doctors. I'm not sure who this is here. Well, welcome. They're on LinkedIn. Nice to see you. I'm not sure. Your last name is, looks like Shastri. Welcome. Thank you. Is it Jagovind Shastri? Welcome. So, like, it was quite interesting information that might be of use to people. You might want to check that out. It's pretty easy to find. Look on D Live under Lorilei TV. It's all over Facebook. But that leads me into, now, a lot of people, it's been very misleading for them because they've been talking about Nuremberg Trials 2.0. This is not Nuremberg Trials 2.0. This is a presentation from, I believe, 5 or 6 lawyers from around the world, started by Dr. Reiner Fomich. And they have a host of people coming. It's about testimony every day for about 6 hours. There was day 1, day 2, day 3. I think we're up to day 6 now. I would strongly urge people to take a look at that. Now, I know it sounds very daunting with 6 hours a day, but the beautiful thing is it's recorded. It's in many different languages. I think you'll be astounded if you've never, ever really looked into what's been going on for the last 2 years, because these are some of the people that have worked at WHO, that have actually worked as top scientists at Pfizer, top doctors in their fields. They went right through history and a whole bunch, like I said, and I consider myself pretty knowledgeable about a lot of stuff. I learned so much so far already. So without saying too much, I know you haven't watched it, right, Del?
No.
Mm-hmm. It's well worth taking a look at. And a lot of people, again, are calling this out, calling it a distraction, calling him a shill. A lot of people, though, when you talk to them about it calmly, you find out they've never actually even looked into Reiner Fomich's work, but or calling it out and saying, well, if it's not a real trial, because what it is it's a grand jury trial. There is a real judge. There's all these lawyers. They did opening statements, and they are presenting a case, grand jury style. Now, the audience is the jury. And at the end of it, they are hoping that there should be some kind of recommendations from the people that are watching, because it's for the people of the world. And we'll see what comes out of that. I think it's going to go on for quite a while yet anyway. So you can find that on Odyssey if you look up Grand Jury, or you can, I believe there's a YouTube channel unless it's been taken down, but there's many places you can watch it as well. And if you can go in with an open mind, I think you might be very, very surprised. And that's what I'll pretty well say about that. So what else
Hmm.
you got on your mind, Al? What else you been looking at today?
Oh, there was a. I don't know. I just been watching a lot of old comedy stuff there. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the. I don't know. You just got to sort of get away from the news every once in a while,
Absolutely.
and
Mm-hmm.
just like it'll. I pop.
Excuse me.
I keep on checking in on stuff and that, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just need to. Sometimes you just need a little bit of relaxation and stuff
Absolutely.
like that. But
Well, okay.
no, it's just yeah, it's just always watching a bunch of old Jim Brewer stuff,
I love Jim Brewer. I
and
love
then also
him.
the dollop, which is there's a channel on there, and what they do is two comedians. They go through uh, parts of history. One guy just tells a story to the other guy, and it's pretty interesting. There's about 400 different episodes of that.
Oh, interesting. But I think you brought up a good point here because, I'm getting with doing podcasting, you talk to people from all over the world, right? And, there's a lot of people that are feeling really disheartened now. One of my rules until recently was just to turn off social media for the weekend because it does get to be a lot. It gets to be really heavy and you do need a break. Like you said, you're watching comedy, it's making you
Hmm.
laugh, right? So,
Yeah.
it's making you feel better. And, and being a light worker, I guess we call that raising your vibration with, your energetic field. And that's not a bad thing. Helps your immune system, helps your mental health. And I think it's important. Um, like I said, comedy is a great thing. There's lots of things that you can do for that. To like, what kind of things do you like to put you in a good mood? Besides our snowblower that we got that broke, that's what we should mention. We have so much snow here.
Hmm.
I think we have more snow here than we've had in the last 5 years. Wouldn't you say this year?
Yeah, this is yeah, quite a
Mm-hmm.
bit because just even looking across seeing the snowbanks across the street, like they're over 6 feet high now, and that's with just because there's no place to put all this snow.
They've been
Yeah,
cut
and then
down too.
yeah, and then
Mm-hmm.
with the snowblower there, like there's no use doing anything there today with it because any parts or anything you'd have to go and get because we're closed down for Family Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so everything was shut down except for some restaurants and I guess whatever gas bars or the
Mm-hmm.
mail came today, that which was
I was
weird. Eh?
surprised about that too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, we got more snow again tonight. So, and it's so weird to think, like I said, talking to people in Australia, they're out firing up the Barbie, they call it, and it's super hot there. It's summertime right now. One of my good friends lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and I really gave her a hard time just jokingly because she told me she's pretty sure spring has hit, and I said, "Oh, sure, rub it in," because would we get almost a foot and a half of snow 2 days ago? Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was the thing. And luckily, I got the end where the plow went by first before
Mm-hmm.
the the, the blower stopped working. But yeah, and then back to shoveling by hand, but just to make
Mm-hmm.
enough room to get the car out. But yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing spring anytime soon. That's for sure.
Well, you never know. You never know. Like it might happen, right?
Mhm. Like
So I
last year,
don't.
we had an early spring because that was the
Actually,
first
we
time.
did, didn't we?
Yeah, because the ice was off the lake pretty early last year. Because usually it's just around May long weekend
Mm-hmm.
that where my camp is. That the ice leaves probably about a week or so before. And last year, I think it was gone in somewhere in April.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to ask you this too. I've been hearing from lots of people that they feel like this is a spiritual battle going on. What's your thoughts about that one?
Well, I think that's I guess a spiritual or mental battle. I guess if you look at what's happening here, or just even with everything that's happened in the last 2 years, is that this has been taxing on a lot of people's mentality. And
Mm-hmm.
whether you want to link that in with the spirituality too, as well,
Mm-hmm.
you probably could. But I don't know. It's a whole thing of this is what they talked about with uh, this Agenda 2030 was to break people down to remold them, right? That's the whole thing about Great Reset and building back better, and
Mm-hmm.
right, like the show, the $6 Million Man, right? Break them
Mm-hmm.
down, and then we can rebuild them the way that we want to.
For people that are our age.
Yeah,
Some people probably have no clue what that is. Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so I think it's a whole part of these tactics that are used. Like I mentioned this before with the OSF, that's the Open Society Foundation, which does run seminars and stuff like that, and that teaches these, I guess, people that go into power. Now that's the George Soros Foundation, and there's a lot of stuff going on with him and putting people into positions of power to cause social unrest and to remake the
Mm-hmm.
country better. And then you have the World Economic Forum, the young leadership programs,
Mm-hmm.
and actually I think it was Kathy Bilski had sent this of all the
Yeah,
people
Kathy sent it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
that were all the people that are in office right now, just here in Canada, that were all grew up members of the young leaders of the World Economic Forum programs, right? And you can see uh, people that go into power and that they all sort of that have all been part of these organizations and groups. They all have the same similar rhetoric that they same things they talk about the same things they use the exact same words. I've said
Mm-hmm.
when they hear words like sustainability, you hear words of like inclusiveness, you hear words just certain words like uh, I'm not even saying mandated regulations, but I am doing this for the betterment, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
hear that talk like that, then you know that this is almost it's almost like hearing people from a cult. They're saying the same things over and over and over again to make you believe what they want you to believe. And I think that can be part of a lot of things going on too. But I don't know. What you got there for the spirituality part?
Well, I'll get into that in just a sec, but when you're talking about the cult like stuff, there's been, I believe it's a psychologist, sorry, from Belgium that's come out with what's been going on in the world with people that have certain beliefs and they can only see sort of one side of it. There's been almost this mass formation psychosis he's talking about. And it's basically people have been hypnotized. But when you look into all this stuff, there's the fourth industrial revolution that's been put out by Klaus Schwab. Like it's all out there. All you have to do is take a look at it and look just turn your TV off a little bit and just do a little bit of a search, and you can usually find these things that are out there, and it sort of explain things. And you're exactly right about what you've been what you just mentioned, but I want to back it up a little bit. I think that the context, now I know you've known about who's been members of the Young Global Leaders Club, including, here in Canada, and most of them are leaders in power right now, or they're still members. But the reason why I think that post that Kathy, and we should mention Kathy Bilski, give her a shout out. She's another fellow host on our network. Friday nights, she has the Quantum Leap here on UPRN. It's 11 p.m. Central and midnight Eastern. And she broadcasts from out of New Orleans, but she's in the beautiful Big Island of Hawaii. So you want to check her show out. She's got amazing stuff. But I got that post actually sent to me that Kathy sent you and sent me. So I've got it quite a few times sent to me after Kathy sent it. And I think there's a reason, because this weekend there was an emergency parliament session, and somebody from the opposition party, which in Canada is called, one of the opposition parties is called the Progressive Conservatives, or PCs. And I guess there was an emergency parliamentary hearing on the weekend. And I believe that our government that's in power, their party or the Liberals, they were allowed to go in, but nobody else was. So somebody called in, I didn't catch his name, and it's actually quite funny to watch. And it's not a funny topic, but it is funny to watch. So the clip is out there, it's gone quite viral. And he calls in via Zoom or phone call. And he says, on behalf of a constituent, because there is video out there showing Mr. I'll spell his last name, I guess, Schwab, because of what I'm about to mention. There's video out there of him bragging that he basically has control of Mr. JT, who runs our country, and over half of our government, like the parliament. And so when this gentleman called in from the PC party, he mentioned that, and then he topped his question off with, Could you please name for us exactly who is part of this half of the government that's involved in this meeting within,
Hmm.
Parliament? And we have somebody called the Speaker of the House that regulates and keeps things calm. And his face was that's the funny part. Like he got all flustered and he kept saying, "Well, I'm so sorry, your audio is cutting out and your video is terrible. We really can't hear what you're saying." And then somebody from the Liberal Party stood up and said, "This is nothing but conspiracy theory. We're not answering it." And then you
Yeah,
seen the Speaker of the House cover his microphone, and then he was talking and he got this look of horror. And all of a sudden you heard click, they hung up on him. So I think that's why somebody was sleuthing who's involved and who isn't. That's my thoughts on it, anyways.
yeah. Well, that was sort of interesting. They really changed the topic very quickly right after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to get off of that, like you figure that somebody would, because they said, "Can you repeat that?" But yeah, no, they wanted to get away from that.
They
See
wanted
this?
him, yeah, they wanted that done and over with. So when you say about spirituality, well, and I think people mix up spirituality with religion. And again, I always say it's not my job to judge. And some people need religion, they do. Spirituality doesn't mean that you don't believe in a higher power or anything. Like for me, I know it's God. I know for you it's God. But for other religions, they have different belief systems. And I know I respect them all. I know you do too, whatever somebody's belief is. But it's kind of connecting to who we really are. Because I really believe, and again, quantum physics, I think, is starting to prove this, but I believe we go on forever. I really, really do. I think that we're just here having a human experience in this body right now in this lifetime. Because even I just did a podcast recently, it's been pre recorded. I was wearing my nurse's hat in that one, but we talked about near death experiences. And I know I've studied near death experiences personally as well as professionally for almost 40 years. So, plus the interesting thing with being a nurse, especially with working in palliative care, when I've hurt my back, so I can't go back to active nursing. But I can tell you, and Del's heard this many times, so this is for our audience, the incredible things that we witness as we're with our patients as they transition from this lifetime to wherever you may believe it is. For me, I believe I call it home because, you've heard it so many times from people. Never mind with working with mediumship, connecting with people over on the other side. I know Del doesn't always agree with me, and that's okay. We can all agree to disagree or have an adult conversation, right?
Hmm.
So I think what the big fear for people is, and sometimes, everybody gets hit with this, but people are so afraid to die. I think that's what this is all about, right? They
Yeah.
are, because they don't know what's on the other side. And I think that that's the big thing that, with the fear of everything that's been going on for the last 2 years, people are afraid of dying. And I mean, I don't blame people for that, but it's too bad because I think it's a really difficult lifetime coming to live on this earth for this, while we're here. I believe we're all here. We're not here by accident. We're here for a reason. And I think it's one of the most difficult places to come because we come in with spiritual amnesia, I call it. Don't remember any previous lives. We come in this clumsy, heavy body that is quite fragile. And if people are going, okay, so why are we coming here? I believe, now I'm not asking other people, but I believe, and I've met many fellow people that do, that we come here to enrich our soul, if you will. We set out something that we either want to experience or we want to learn about, and we have free will. So screw it all up. I mean, right? We go on forever. It's kind of like just a blink in foreverness, if you will, eternity. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that one, or is it really heavy?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. See, that's what I think that
Excuse
there's
me.
a lot of parties that we're here to experience something different that we weren't able to do previously before whatever you're born onto this planet. But if you go with the other part, because we are on a UFO network, and that we were created as slaves for
Ooh.
the for the they call them all different names. See, everybody's got a theory. They say the Anunnaki were the aliens, and some say, well, no, they were the Nephilim from the Bible, and other people say, no, they were this alien race that was there that created. So there's a
The
lot of different things.
reptilians and
Yeah, and then there's a whole part with the Atlantis theories and stuff like
mhm,
that. That we are the we are the existing of something that was before, and
mhm,
but if you go through the other part, there's so many theories you can go through, right? We're never going to know exactly what is correct until after we die and we go and we
yeah, we
can
see
do
that.
our
Yeah.
life in review, right?
Mhm.
And you're right, is that if we were actually aware of what what was previous before we got here, people would, I think, would have a little bit different outlook that was, I guess, to this planet and what it's about. And I think that's another interesting way to sort of look at things.
Well, I know that some people believe, and I've had Paul Anthony Wallace on my show a couple times. I know you've had him on. I've had a really interesting discussion with him about his. I can just remember the one title right now at the top of my head is Scars of Eden. And he's such a fascinating, interesting gentleman. He's from Australia, originally from England. He's got his own channels here on YouTube and fascinating topics that he talks about. And I remember the first time he was on my show, and I'd never really considered this. And it's kind of a dream to interview on places where you have to be careful with the language that you're using because he understands how to get the message across without causing any issue. And he had said that, maybe the orders for what's going on right now really aren't even coming from this planet. Like, what if they're coming from another planet or, another race, if you will? And you know what? I couldn't say no because I don't know. Like, I don't know. What if they are, right? What if it's coming from some alien nefarious race that was here before? Like, we've heard this story before. And depending how deep you go down the rabbit hole, and you look into this about, and that we also discussed this, Paul and I, about, were we human beings 2.0 versus whom we used to be? And it was a really interesting discussion. So I don't know, like, are you kind of sort of the mind that I'm feeling? Like, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where I always say, call it the proverbial back shelf. I kind of sit things up there where you don't have answers, but there could be some truth to it, but it could also not be true. So I kind
Hmm.
of just let it marinate, if you will. And I always believe that the truth comes to the surface eventually.
Yeah, that's the whole part about understanding who we are and why we're here, right? These are
Hmm.
all really important questions if if you're interested in actually trying to figure it out. And
Hmm.
that's the part, is that we don't have a time machine where we can go back into time and see how things were to record down history properly. And that's why I've said it many times, and you said there too, is it's really important to have history and to not
Hmm.
erase it, and also be aware that history is, for the most part, is written by the winner, right? So
Hmm.
it's a very, could be, some of the times they're very skewed. And we have whatever documents and stuff that we have left, like whether you want to believe the Bible story in there, I think a lot of things were sort of moved around. My opinion on that,
Hmm.
uh,
I
that
agree.
was uh, that was for control over the populace. The way that and there's a lot of theories. There's so many things you can go out there and watch, and it's just like, that was one thing that I think in the last sort of 10 years. And that's probably another reason why I started my show,
Hmm.
uh, and the delicious recipe was just to go and get other people's thoughts and opinions
Hmm.
on and hear something different that I'm not thinking about, or I wasn't thinking about, and find out where they got their sort of their information from. And it just
Hmm.
opens up other avenues to think in a wider spectrum,
Hmm.
right?
No, I have to
So,
agree with you. I have to agree with you. And that's why I enjoy doing the show too, because, you have people on, and my feelings are when I have a guest on, and I know you treat your guests very similarly, that I treat them like they're a most treasured guest coming to my home. I'm very grateful that they choose to spend 2 hours with myself and my audience. I call everybody that listens and tunes in, and even if they hear it on the replay, you guys are our family. You support our network. Speaking of that, I just remembered. by the way, we normally are broadcasting. We have three channels with YouTube for the network, but our main channel, UFO Paranormal Radio, we have a membership there. So it's very reasonable. And with you buying, supporting our network by buying a membership, you not only help our network because then we're able to bring more and more content, broadcast even further, though we are broadcasting I think just over 200 countries around the world. But we're also able to bring you better hosts. Not better, what am I saying? God, we have amazing hosts. Sorry, my brain's not working. Holiday day today. No, I meant to say we have new and exciting hosts because there is something for everybody here on this network. But the cool part about it, when you support our network, you get something for yourself in return because we have exclusive content when you pay into the membership to support our network. So I know I've submitted already 3 exclusive shows there that otherwise maybe necessarily couldn't be shown in regular social media or channels just because they cover certain topics. Like, one of them, I think the 3 of them, yeah, they were with very exclusive doctors that I talked to. And we talked quite frankly with a lot of medical stuff that people could understand, but wouldn't be necessarily accepted just to be open on the regular channel. So all our hosts are doing that. We'll be creating different content from the host too, as I understand it. Maybe some people might be teaching some extra content. Dell and I probably will create some content together. We like to do different things. So please check it out because, like I said, you support us and then you get something in return. So I forget why I brought our channel up here. Del, do you remember me saying all this stuff? My brain's like working like a snowstorm today. I've had so much information overload.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
No, we were just talking about how and why we were here and asking questions and
Oh,
stuff
that's
like
what I
that.
was saying. Yes, yes, yes. So
Yeah,
but the
and then
class.
if you look at the other part there too, is this is why it's so interesting to do reading and check out other stuff and that because other cultures have their own different origin
Mhm,
story about why we're here too as well, and
they
you can see
do.
little nuggets of similarities and I don't know that's the whole thing is about asking questions, getting information, and then you can make up your own mind and get your own thoughts and opinions, and then just keep on learning every day and researching. Learn something new every day.
Well, I think that's important. Even in the light worker, because that's a real buzzy word right now about people working in this field, right? If you've heard of them before, you kind of have heard a lot of them, I'm sure, because that's a term people seem to recognize if you've heard of that field in the way of spirituality. And like I said, a lot of people say, well, I've done all my work, I've done all my healing, I'm ready, I don't need to do anything else. We all need to, to do a little healing. We all do, whether, it's past trauma from growing up or, even if you've had a Brady Bunch type growing up scenario where everything was rainbows and sunshine, there's still things, to deal with that to unpack, if you will. But, I just had this conversation with someone recently and I think I said for myself, I'm a work in progress and I will be till the day I die because there's so much to know. There's so much to learn. And so I know you do this as well. I try to learn at least one new thing a day, doing a lot of research, talking with a lot of different people, because I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, Del, that, there's a lot of different cultures and there's like, we've had this conversation off here and I think even on air. How many people have even left their own country, like to travel to a different country? Or, I
Or
mean, right
left their
now,
own city.
yeah, own city. I was going to say backyard originally, but I think it's important because there's incredible things around this world. Now, I understand people have been limited over the last couple of years, but there are incredible things around this world that even a picture or a video doesn't do it justice to witness it with your own eyes. And, different cultures to meet, different foods, I mean, when we're in a world as big as we are, I don't know how somebody could think that, I'm all done it. I've done everything I need to do now. So I'm ready to forge with forward with what I've got and don't need any other input. Or to me, that's just kind of closed minded, I think, because I really believe, and I've been saying this to a lot of people, and again, my opinion, but we've kind of had a theme, especially over the last 2 years. 2020 was this, 2020 was that. But this year, and the more attention that I pay to it, the more I am noticing it daily, numerous times. And what it is I believe, and I hope people will hear me out on this because they're going to hear this word and some people may freak out. Excuse me. I do believe that 2022 is an apocalypse. And the reason why I say this is when you look at the word apocalypse, part of the meaning of it is to reveal which was once hidden, right? So once people start revealing, or discovering is a better word, what was once hidden, you kind of take that cork off of the bottle with the genie, and the genie comes out, and then you realize, knowing what you know now, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. You can't put the cork back in. You can't unlearn what you've seen, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the other part is, I think what it's about is, with that being said, you need to forge forward in a new direction, if you will. So it's kind of like the death of an old way, moving forward into the new. But the other part about people, it is literally like, and I don't care if it's been personal for myself, professionally, whether it's been, geographically in the city around us, province, country, world, universe, whomever I'm sort of seeing lately, it's almost like that old analogy of the wolf in sheep's clothing. And it's literally like the sheep is unzipping the costume, and we're getting to see what's really underneath the sheep's clothing, whether maybe it's a monster, maybe it really is a wolf. But I'm also seeing too that some people are really coming into their own, and they are the incredible people that we've always seen and met. Like, it's almost like people are showing their true selves. I know that was a long sentence, but what's your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts about that one?
Yeah, well, I think one thing that we you can witness here on what happened over these last 3.5 weeks, even
Mm-hmm.
with this convoy that's happened, and it's happening in other places too. Australia, I just watched one there where I think it was one of the members of Parliament in Australia, and
Mm-hmm.
oh no, it was in South Africa. That's where it
Mm-hmm.
was. One of the members of Parliament there that I think they put it up on Twitter or whatever, but it was also they played on one of the stations and on YouTube there,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about the great support and everything that they have for everything that was happening in Canada with the protests there, and not to be
Mm-hmm.
deterred by government overreach, and also there was another one from I think she's the governor of New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
She had also said that she was in support of the trucker convoy, and you've seen this around the world, other places too as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what I could see from this is that when when it was first said by the mainstream media and by the Prime Minister of Canada that this was a small fringe
Minority with
gathering,
mhm. Minority with
right?
unacceptable views.
Right. But out of that, this small fringe thing is
Mm-hmm.
that I think a lot more people, as that were, especially a lot of independent journalists that were out there that were actually video
Yeah.
or diarying this whole diary logging this whole thing and putting up the videos daily. You see that there was a lot more people across Canada, and then you saw it in other countries as well that were looking at the situations that the powers that government have over the people and how unjust they are. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the part that a lot more people were seeing this. And
Excuse
there's
me.
been a lot of talking about division. You have people that are pro government that agree that everything is on there. I think that it's just you're seeing a lot more people that were not saying anything ever before, but
Mm-hmm.
are actually were out there in support, and it was a lot bigger than what was, I guess, being propagandized through the mainstream media and through the liberal government.
Well, part of that was too, and with talking with people from all over the place, or the independent news media streams that we were seeing, is that a lot of people thought that this was started, excuse me, was over the jab, I'll call it. And it wasn't. That's not what this is about. 99.9% of the people that organized this were jabbed. What this was about was getting back our liberties and our freedoms and starting to start acting like a how we used to manage, to the country to run. And because we're seeing it around the world, even some of the most strictest places that had similar lockdowns and measures in place. Like we were actually in lockdown until um, our Doug Ford, I'll call him because that's his name. I have other names for him, but I won't say it on air. He decided he's going to lift everything all of a sudden, February 17th. And now this passport that we're supposed to have is being removed at the beginning of March. But I'm going to say something right now, and there's enough proof out there that I believe that I can speak only for Ontario, but I would bet money on it that they're being lifted because we're moving into the digital ID system. And I think
Hmm.
it's going to be across the world, goes along with the whole plan. And I believe that it's ready to roll out in March here in Ontario. But I know the government, they haven't been open about this, but when you've seen documentation, part of their reasoning has been that some countries won't accept a provincial ID. So they're going to a federal, if you will, countrywide. So it's going to be a different way that we're moving forward in the future either way, because we got a lot going on in the world with Russia and Ukraine. We've got God, it just slipped my mind. Sorry, guys. Um, but there's a lot going on to kind of turn people's heads to take a look in different directions, right?
Hmm.
And then, like I said, there's just even, it depends what you look at. I mean, we just sort of went through a full moon. We've got an alignment of the planets that's never happened in anybody's lifetime before. If you look into things like that. So there's a lot of different stuff going on. Um, I don't know if it's meant to be a distraction. I'm not sure what it's meant to be. But even when you look at the energy around here, and again, I'm not getting all woo woo light workery here, and that's no disrespect to anybody. I'm just saying, with going back to my science background, everything is energy on the planet, right? And one of the laws of energy is it can't be created nor destroyed, but it can be transferred from one place to another. So that includes us as human beings, whatever that may be. And again, we talked a little bit about it, but even the collective feelings, emotions of the world of what people are feeling, and we're seeing it because the numbers are showing it with increase, suicides and things like that out there. That you know, I think that when we have lower energy, it also leaves us open to, if you will, lower vibrational. I don't know if you want to call them entities or what you do. Like, have you seen anything in your research about that? We're seeing more, because I know we talked a little bit about this on your show last week, but um, increased activity, paranormal activity, or any of the videos that you've watched. Have you seen any of that?
No, just the stuff there. Like we always watch that Nuke's Top Five
Mm-hmm.
there, and the main focus of everything that I've been sort of seeing, which is because if I watch around different stuff there, but just even with the news feeds and stuff like that that's going on with through on YouTube, there's is that it's mostly all focused in on this supposed war that's going to take place over in Ukraine and Russia, what's going on here in Canada, and then I don't even know what else is going on really.
Well,
I sort of, oh
That
yeah,
was huge
Australia.
with Australia. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. But it's a lot of I don't know. It always seems that there's some sort of thing there with power, right? I guess this control, and that's I guess that's where we're sort of headed. Like I remember back in 2019, there was always talk about this disclosure that was going to happen, right? That there was
Hmm.
we're finally going to get the whole part about these aliens coming, or that this will all be the truth was going to come out. Well, that never happened because we went into COVID-19.
Hmm.
Then during that, there was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That went to 2 years, and it's actually still going on. So now we're 2 years plus.
Hmm.
Uh, and then we have this stuff that's this government overreach that's happening here in Canada. So
Hmm.
a lot of power plays and power struggles. I don't know. I don't even know where even to go from there on that.
Well, I don't know. Like, I like I say, well, maybe I'm going to go with this is when we were, talking about energy and talking about everything being energy. And you and I have had many discussions about this off air. I know you don't necessarily, agree with me, but when you break it right down, if everything is energy, so are our thoughts, so are our emotions, and so are our words, right? So part of this is because I'm seeing a lot of people feeling, especially that I've been talking to across Canada. No, I don't talk to everybody in Canada, obviously, but a lot of people are feeling very helpless and very hopeless. And what I think we don't realize, that was sort of the other thing I've been sharing with a lot of people, is we don't realize how incredibly powerful each and every one of us is as a human being. And we talked a little bit about this on your show with Michelle DeRoche and Kathy Bilski last week. And we're going to try and do that again, guys. I haven't contacted everybody, but try and maybe, I had a lot of requests to do it on my show as well, so that we could make it a 2 hour show, because it went by so quickly
Oh,
with Dell's delicious recipe. Go ahead, Dell.
oh, that's what I was gonna. This is where I was going with it because I think I mentioned this afterwards when I was talk. We were talking off air, and there was this is why I started with the part about the UFOs and aliens at the beginning in 2019 because there was a lot of talk. There was going around through. I hate using the word conspiracy theorist channels and stuff like that, but people that had alternative views or viewed the world a
Mm-hmm.
little bit differently, and there was always talk about there's this council of aliens that are around the planet, and this has
Mm-hmm.
been mentioned many times. And there's
Galactic Federation, that's one I
right,
usually hear.
right.
Mm-hmm.
There's good ones and there's bad ones, and
Mm-hmm.
they had the insectoids and the reptilians. That's why they always say that there's reptilians in the government and stuff like that, right? And then part of it was about this, and then there's another part about the archons, these energy sucking, uh, I guess, dimensional beings or whatever
Mm-hmm.
they are that are around there. And the talk back then was, or the theories was this stuff called loosh, and
Mm-hmm.
what they call that, and that was the all the negative and sorrowful energy uh, that's there. They sort of feed off of it. We're
Mm-hmm.
like these little
Yeah.
batteries for
Yeah.
these dimensional or these archons or reptilians and stuff like that. That it puts give off this strong negative fear energy or sorrowful or pity or everything that's negative basically, and that's what they feed on. So there was a talk, well, there was just a lot of theories out there, is that whether this is part of the Klaus Schwab's or the OSF stuff or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but a way that putting these people in the power that to totally cripple and demoralize the human beings of each and every country. So this is actually producing more, right? Even you have all this
Mm-hmm.
hatred and
Yeah.
fear and this all these negative emotions, and I think that's why I sort of brought that up because I remember talking about Kathy Bilski's thing there, and she was sending all this positive energy
Mm-hmm.
that maybe to combat that.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that because, again, we've brought it up many times in this show, but Dell and I lived in an extremely, extremely haunted house for almost 11 years. And, we shared our story on Paranormal Survivor. It's season 4, episode 9. And it's called Demonic Hauntings. And one of the things, it didn't make everything better, but I know when I started to understand about energy and how it worked, and by raising your vibration, meaning, spending time watching comedies, or if everybody has a funny movie they like that makes them laugh, getting outside. I've been sharing a lot of information with a lot of people I mentor and teach do teaching with, about really getting out and doing grounding. And all of a sudden, there was this documentary, I think it came out in 2020, like this groundbreaking new technology that was out there called earthing. No, that's been around for thousands of years. And basically, it was following people that were getting outside, taking their shoes and socks off if they could, getting onto the earth with their bare feet. Sounds very hippie-ish, but this was actually really looked at scientifically, and people were starting to heal things that were not healing with conventional medicine. It's been around forever. So part of the thing I've been sharing with people is, and I got this from spirit, as I call it, because I'm a psychic or slash clairvoyant medium, is that normally people that know about grounding have one particular type of grounding method that they use. But because of the way the energy is around the earth, now I will get a little woo woo, but spirit usually gives me a lot of like visual, and no, I'm not seeing things or hearing things. It's within the mind's eye. But it almost looks like the energy is like a million tornadoes swirling in different directions, thrown in with multiple tsunamis with the energy. So, when I find that people are feeling very helpless or anxious or depressed or whatever it may be, I've been sharing some of my teaching videos I have with people how to send that energy downwards through grounding. And if you will, soak up whatever you can from the earth, whatever you're in need of. And actually, people have been finding it very helpful, but there's other ways to do grounding. And the way I explain it is we're electrical beings. It's been proven by science. And I think that we're meant to be in balance. Actually, I think everything on this earth is meant to be in balance, right? Because we live in this duality existence of hot and cold, good and bad, light and dark. And I think that as human beings, we're meant to be balanced. So it seems to really help people with a lot of those feelings. And again, whether you want to say, because I know Della's ever the skeptic, and it's not a bad thing to be a skeptic. I think it's a good thing to question everything and look at it and see what kind of information you find, and then, change your views or amend them accordingly, either way. And, but people have been finding that very helpful, I've been finding. And where I was going with about as human beings, that we are capable of so much more than we've ever been told or been taught. I do believe that. Like Michelle DeRoche was mentioning on your show last week, is it really paranormal activity or is it psychokinesis? Which means that, again, human beings are powerful. So, say you have a bit of rage going on, or you have a real anger going on, whatever it may be, and just a burst of emotion that's powerful, we can actually move things. We can move energy with our mind. And I'm going to show people this right now while I hear your thoughts. I'll just run right over here. I want to grab some. Oh, actually, I have one here. What's your thoughts on that, Del?
Yeah, those are interesting theories. Yeah.
Well, I know I'm not calling you out on it. I just said it's certainly something interesting. What I want to show people, no, I'm not a witch. No, I'm not doing any magic tricks. I've done this on a podcast before, and people were like, oh my God, she must be a witch. Okay, well, this is about energy, and I'm not doing this to show off. What I'm showing you is with a little bit of practice, anybody can do this. This is a pendulum. Okay, it's a brand new one. And okay, so while I'm talking here, I'm going to tell you what this is moving. You can see my arm's not moving. I'm going to tell this to move back and forth. Okay. Now I'm going to ask it to stop in the center. Then I'm going to ask it to swing in a circle. You can see my arm's not moving, anything like that. I'm going to get it to stop. I'm going to get it to go the other way. Yeah, you got to go the other. Now I move my arm because my arm's getting tired. That one's a little bit more difficult, but I want you to see that because, okay, I've never tried to swing it from one way to the other. It's still going in the same way, but I'll get it to stop again. I'll get it to go diagonal and stop again. And I'm tired tonight, guys. Okay, when I had a good night's sleep, this is very simple, but my whole point is it's not a magic trick. It's nothing like that. It's that we're energetic beings. And once we learn how to focus that and utilize it and move that out, even when you hear the word aura, a lot of people think that's like crazy stuff, right? You go back to the basis of Chinese medicine and look at the qi or qi lines. That's our energy field, right? And Eastern medicine has been very effective of healing things for many years. But my point is, we're electrical beings. And I think that we have, our minds are powerful. I always say, what we perceive becomes what we believe, and it becomes our reality. And it's the same reason why the law of attraction can work for people once they learn how it works. And I think any of this stuff is like a muscle. You just have to work with it, practice with it. Whether you do some research or you work with mentors, there's all kinds of different mentors. The other thing I think that can help anybody, and again, I'm mentioning all this stuff because I'm running into a lot of people that are feeling, again, very helpless, very hopeless, is spending some time in meditation. And a lot of people say, I can't do that. It's too hard to quiet my mind or whatever. There's all different kinds of meditations you can use. You don't have to sit in a lotus position on the top of a mountain like this and be quiet for hours. Every little bit counts, right, Del?
Yep. Well, this
Mm-hmm.
is the this is
Excuse me.
the sort of the interesting thing that I've sort of seen,
Mm-hmm.
and we've gotten to this part where the narrative is trust science. Science is the only answer.
Yeah.
Science, and which is basically the science they want you to trust is costs money, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
being produced by big pharma or by whatever, anything like that, right? Or it's
Mm-hmm.
being done. I mean, there's always money involved with the science that they want you to deal
Mm-hmm.
with. Now, this is what comes into sort of interesting things because this is, like you said, this has been known and done for a long time. There, that yes,
Yes.
the body is the mind and the body is an incredible machine, and
Mm-hmm.
the way that it was created was to heal itself
Mm-hmm.
outside of being infected by something that was never intended naturally to be there, or
Mm-hmm.
being eaten by a lion and that. But there's medical things that can be done that to maintain your life. You might be beat up a
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
but the body will always, for anything that's foreign, will the body will fix itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the heal. And there's been so many documentations there uh, by people using energy to help things. There's been people that all of a sudden, by even by prayer and that, where all of a sudden the
Mm-hmm.
doctors got the the MRI and all the blood work there. This person's got cancer, and then a week later, there's not a lick of cancer in the
Mm-hmm.
person's body. There's certain things like these are all interesting, and I don't it I don't it doesn't really matter if you're thinking it's religious, spiritual, or it's
Mm-hmm.
some sort of new age medicine, or even old age spirituality, or old age medicine, stuff like that. There is stuff there that science can't explain, and
Mm-hmm.
we can't explain. And so that's the whole part about being aware of information that's out there. Like a lot, so some of it's bad information, some of it's good information there.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just go and say this is the only way that you're allowed to think, and this is the only way that you can heal yourself is just by doing what I'm seeing here by whoever the big head of medical is saying. Because now they're finding out, and it goes into this whole part there with these medical instruments that they've been jabbing into people. There's long term and other effects that they were never aware of because they never spent the time in the beginning time to test these things properly. And that's going to be an interesting, uh, I guess, discussion as time goes on here.
That's what
And
I, well, that's why I was talking about the presentation that was last week with Dr. Paul Alexander, Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, Dr.
mhm,
Byram. I think it's Birdie. I don't always say his last name right. Excellent presentation, exactly what you just mentioned. Same thing with the grand jury trial with Dr. Reiner Fulmich. I have been saying to everybody, every man, woman, and child needs to watch that. Exactly what you're talking about. Uh, for the kids out there that say this, they come with the receipts, or meaning they come with all of the documentation to back up what they're talking about, including that they are from a multitude of countries. This isn't like it's just one person or two people. They have had so many different people. I did say, though, the only thing, and bless these people for speaking in English, because some of these people don't speak English that well, but they're the experts in their field, whether they're biochemists, whether they're geneticists, whether they're doctors. But that's not what this whole test, this trial is about. It's not just about medicine. It's all aspects of whomever was involved with what was going on in the last 2 years by providing their expert testimony and witness and what they do in everyday life that pertains to what we've gone through for the last 2 years. That's why I'm saying everybody needs to see this. Now, the other thing I saw today that came out from the CDC is they have very quietly admitted that they did not reveal a lot of things to the general public because they didn't want any hesitation about these jabs. There's another thing too. Pfizer wanted to hide their data for 75 years. The first 6 months has been released. Now you got to look a little bit to be open-minded to take a look at what's out there. There was an excellent video that was put out probably about a month and a half ago by the Canadian COVID Alliance. There's a bunch of groups of doctors, scientists, and what have you. And they actually broke down the data that was released over the first 6 months. And quite eye-opening is what I'll say. Very, very eye-opening. Senator Ron Johnson has done a lot of stuff in the U.S. that, again, very eye-opening. You're not going to see it on mainstream media or legacy media, but you're going to see it if you look a little bit past that. You're open-minded, maybe. I don't know if you'd see it so much here on the platform of YouTube, but you certainly will see it on other media platforms. And if you're willing to be open-minded and take a look and just listen at what needs to be said and then follow up whatever you hear, do your own research, see what you find. I think a lot of people will be surprised. Were you going to say something, Bill?
Yeah, that's the whole thing there. The guy Dr. John, something, I can't remember his last name.
Martin, isn't it John Martin, the British doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was the study that was done by, I think it was the Independent or whatever, done with a place in South Africa or Africa somewhere. And it was to deal with the Omicron. And they said the majority of the people Omicron went through them all, and didn't get vaccinated for that stuff like that, and their body created the two type of proteins there to combat it, and the natural herd immunity was much stronger than being vaccinated by the.
No, we're not going to use the V word. Remember?
Yeah, whatever jabbed, but whatever they called it, anyways, and. A lot of these other studies that are being done are not being looked at, or they're being tossed out, and that's where I think people have to come to the part that they need to do their own independent study of things like that, and not just believe the first narrative that you hear.
Well, didn't we see that comedian tonight that was on Dr. Drew? And she was talking about being in her comedy act about being a favorite of Jesus. And she had just been going on and on and on about the jab. And she collapsed. Well, she didn't just collapse. She fell like a brick, basically. And I believe fractured
funny.
Her skull.
Yeah, she had said that, she'd gotten everything that was told to her. And plus she'd gotten shingle shot, and she saying that and then she still has her period. She was able to travel to Mexico and everything like that. And then she goes, because Jesus loves me best. And then boom, right out.
But the interesting part, and I'm going to spell it, not say it, Dr. Drew asked her, were you told whether or not you had any symptoms of CARDIOMYPATHY? And she had no clue. She didn't know what that was. She didn't know what any of that was. So that's a little scary. She
Yeah,
just said she wasn't going for the fourth jab, but I mean, we're seeing that though. You're seeing it all over. Like, look at all the athletes over in Europe, and it's a scary thing. It really is. And I'm not trying to scare anybody because I really believe that knowledge is empowering. So, if any of that resonates with you, and again, I'm going to keep saying this, if you don't believe us, you don't have to believe us. Take a look for yourself. All I suggest, please, is use different search engines, because I think when you compare them, you might be pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised, depending on how you look at it, with the difference of which you'll be able to discover, right?
yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's for certain. Yeah, like I think we talked about this, me and you, a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is I had the iPad, my old iPhone, and my new iPhone, and I typed in the same words, and I hit
Mm-hmm.
search,
Yeah, you did. Yep.
and I got different pages on each phone, and they were all like done instantly, almost at the
And
same
using the
time.
same search engine.
Yeah, and that
Mm-hmm.
was using the Google one there. So if,
Excuse me.
if you
Mm-hmm.
ever look at how Google set up, and a lot of people know this already, is that the first set of options that are all paid advertisement option ones. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are there. You have to sort of go down a little bit further to get to the ones that aren't ad based uh, searches.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's other ones they use there, like that DuckDuckGo. I've used that there quite a few times. That's but like with everything though, there's always a pro and a con to each
Mm-hmm.
search engine, and that that's you just have to be aware of that, and that's why it's important to get as much information as you can. And it's the same thing for your own medical information too. You just don't go and I remember growing up is that if there was something that you had a serious problem there, they were told says go get a second opinion. Go
Mm-hmm.
that was I remember that being told since I was little. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you got cancer and that, and the doctor says yeah you got cancer, well then you went and saw another doctor to go and verify and make
Mm-hmm.
sure because not
Mm-hmm.
everybody's skilled in the certain things as everybody else. So
Well, I was just listening to some testimony about lab testing, and it was interesting because you should be having a margin of error, they were talking about,
mhm,
because depending on who's doing it, how well they're trained, how well they follow the protocol, there can always be a margin for error. So I believe that's probably why it was always recommended to get a second opinion.
mhm,
Plus, not everybody knows everything. Like, maybe somebody's had different experiences, that they've learned of something new or different that somebody else may not be aware of, right? But I want to get back to Dave's comment here. I thought it was a good comment. Sorry about that, Dave. We kind of went all around and we're back here again. You said, yes, Eastern medicine contains the true teachings of the body. It's too bad we didn't have Dave on here, because I'd like to hear exactly what he means by that. So what do you think he means by that, Del?
well, I think they studied more into the relationship of mind, body, and soul, and
Yeah.
energy, and they went from the like if you look at how past like, this is like if you look into like naturopathic doctors where they and you look in to shamanic doctors and other cultures
Mm-hmm.
around the world where they didn't have these would you say Harvard, not Harvard, whatever, Johns Hopkins
Mm-hmm.
doctors or the Mayo Clinic doctors that went
Mm-hmm.
to medical schools that just
Mm-hmm.
uh, learn about pharmacy medicine.
Mm-hmm.
That
Big pharma, yeah.
right, so people were being saved around the world that didn't go to these schools that used natural products, and even when I, like what was that movie there with Sean Connery, Medicine Man? That
Oh,
was how
that was a good movie. Yeah.
right
Mm-hmm.
going out to the rainforest to go find natural uh, occurring things that were there, and then they were to bring them back so that the pharmacy or the big pharma could go and synthetically produce it.
Yeah.
And uh, I think there's so much that there people were being healed by different things back before they ever had these schools that were teaching big pharma medicine. So I think where they're going with that. So
Well, what I wanted to add to that, okay, because
yeah,
I wrote a note here, is okay, so when I was talking about the power of the mind, okay, we all know about the placebo effect, and it's been proven time and time and time again that with a placebo, so basically it could be a sugar pill, right? And if you're in a study, you don't know who's getting the real, say, medication and who's getting the placebo. Many of people have had side effects if they had, sort of anticipated that there might be side effects with a placebo. I have seen people that have completely been cured, believing they were given, this life-saving pill, if you will, or treatment. Because I wanted to build a little bit on what you said a few minutes ago, because it's true. Even though I come from, like I said, as a nurse, I call it a big pharma background, I still believe in a lot of natural stuff. And again, not prescribing, not telling people what to do. You need to follow the advice of your own healthcare professional. But I believe that, you know, the body can heal itself. And again, when you get into energy and different things like there's a reason why acupuncture works, right? And it's much, much more complex than just saying that there's blockages in the ki or chi lines when you're looking, but there's certain points, right? Where they use the needles to unblock these blockages. And I've seen acupuncture, I've had it done myself numerous times. It works. So there's got to be something to it, right? Or even when you get back to, we've lost a lot of that knowledge, but say from our grandparents or great grandparents, they didn't have all these things that we have access to now. They used a lot of things from nature, and even back in history, they used herbs and they used all kinds of things like that, and they were able to manage a lot of things that nowadays we're not managing that way, right? It tends to be a big pill instead.
well, don't yeah. But like, there, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that medical doctors that are in hospitals
Oh no, I'm not
are
saying
not
that at all.
good.
No.
They do have a purpose, and you know what?
Yep.
And a lot of medical science has made life better and improved things
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
a great, like back before I think the average old age was way lower
Mm-hmm.
than what it is there today. And
Yeah.
I think there's stuff that was held to that, but I think this is what the point that I'm making is that to discount one or the
Yes.
other is the problem there. There should be a marrying of both
There's a
things
place
together.
for both because you're reading
Right.
my mind. That's what I kept thinking. There's a place for both of them. Again, balance, right? Balance of both.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the part is that when you are beholden to big tech, big energy, big pharma, and you totally chastise the other side and dismiss it, that's where I think in lies the problem. That's where that's what I'm saying is that when people go out and research and look into things, there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things out there that might be better for you than this one or the other one. And
Mm-hmm.
I like we've moved our society away from being natural. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we've moved away from the farm life where we're self sufficient.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm.
We've gone in. There's been a push to become a tech like integrated society, and where we've gone and we've this push to move into these cities where everything is there and you're living on top
Mm-hmm.
of everybody and you're like cramped in whatever, but there's no greenery, there's nothing there to support yourself. Now you've made yourself dependent to the system,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the way a lot of this way this was written about in books back before.
Mm-hmm.
I think Isaac Asimov had a thing there, and it was a Foundation series. I might not be right on that one, but I can't remember. Or Robert Jordan, or was it Robert Jordan or Robert Heinlein? Anyways, it's just this whole push to go into this control state, and where now everything's manufactured. It reminds me of that other movie, Soylent Green is people, right? And
Oh,
people,
geez, I've been hearing the name of that movie so much lately from
yeah,
people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right. And there's another one was I think Logan's Run as well. That
Mm-hmm.
was another one that they were the control system is there, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just think to look at maybe that's a could be this is just my opinion and a theory on there is that maybe a lot of people are getting more and more sick these days and having more problems is because we've gotten away from natural uh, sustainability that you can do yourself, right? Where you're not ingesting Moderna inspired foods or genetically enhanced
Mm-hmm.
uh, foods or fake foods, the TV dinners, all
Mm-hmm.
the processed foods, right? And that's what I was sort of just looking at. That's just my theory, anyways.
Sorry, what's that last part? It cut
I
out.
said that's just my theory.
Well, no, I think there's something to it because, I mean, the beauty in research and keeping statistics and things that we're seeing, how many times have you mentioned off air when we went to school, there was no such thing as like a peanut allergy
Hmm.
versus nowadays, or, there's lots of things like all kinds of allergies, all kinds of like eczemas and I could go on and on and on. Like we're seeing more and more a rise in dementia, we're seeing a rise in autism, we're seeing a rise in all of these things without any real concrete answers. And I don't think you can just point to one thing and say that's what it is because we have five senses. We need to eat, we need to drink water, we need to breathe air. And when you look at all of our systems and what's happening, and I'm not getting into the what I want to, how do I put this? I'll spell it global, warming. I'm not getting into that topic, but what I'm saying is we know it's been admitted to us that there's been chemicals sprayed in the sky. Like they're now admitting it. You know that a lot of our foods, like our vegetables and stuff, have been genetically modified, and you can go on from there. Like even you and I have discussed, your family has that beautiful camp, but even some of the fish, like you look at the fish around here, right? They're contaminated. So if things are contaminated and we're ingesting it, you could see where some of this stuff is coming from, right?
I think there was a joke about this is uh, that you don't throw away anything. It says you go and you get some salmon or tuna from the ocean. There, you're eating the cell phone you just threw away, right?
Oh,
Because as it
wow.
breaks down, it's breaks down through it. It always ends up that something goes into the ocean, and then when you go and
Hmm.
buy it years later, that you're eating your phone. So
Oh, dear God, I hope not.
right, it's just sort of it was that was just one of the jokes. I can't remember what comedian had that one on there, but there's there's always like always we talked about this lots about recycling and the
Hmm.
problem with it there, and even with anything that's sort of built, that never is the thought of the end
Hmm.
product when that product comes to the end of its life,
Hmm.
right? And that's a big problem there, and then this goes into because you mentioned the whole global
Hmm.
thing there, and the part that uh, will be a problem to be there is like when it comes into this green energy uh, system. I've talked about this several times. Is that there is no thought about the process of making these things and what
Hmm.
you do with getting rid of them when their time period has come to an end where they have to be replaced.
Hmm.
And that's a question that should be out there and it should be answered
Hmm.
before anything else, right? It's like,
Hmm.
what are you going to do with this stuff at the end? And because you have uh, Biden was even on this about going green and getting rid of
Hmm.
oil and gas, shutting down that pipeline, and that everybody's going to be on solar panels and drive electric vehicles, and nothing is ever discussed about all the rest of the countries that won't be doing that, And what about
Mm-hmm.
all the shipping that comes across? So you're going to have a super tanker running on solar panels and weather and wind vanes and whatever else to travel across the ocean. I don't think that's a possibility as of yet. I don't know. How are you going to move trains
Mm-hmm.
the country? Like I know in some places in Europe they have electric rail stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but then you have to still look at how's the power that you're going to power these electric rail trains,
Yes.
right? There's all these other uh, questions to these great solutions that these green people seem to have. That this is going to be so much greater and cleaner for the planet, but they're not looking at all of the scope of the picture and the amount of people that are here and the
Mm-hmm.
amount of infrastructure and cost and everything that's involved and how feasible that is
Mm-hmm.
to implement this with all the rest of the world, right? So I don't know. There's lots of different ways
Well,
to
solar
think and go
panels
about the
cost a
future.
lot of money. And, I think a big eye opener, I don't watch a lot of TV, but where I do a lot of my resin stuff that I do, because that's a secondary thing, I create resin pieces. But I'm always listening or I'll pop in and watch in the living room. It's kind of open concept. And the biggest shock to me, one of them, there's been a few over the years, but one of them was how unfeasible it is right now with solar power because how expensive it is. And you watched a documentary on that. I'm not doing it justice, but there was quite a few things involved that it's not quite what it's been presented to be, right?
Yeah, that's the thing there. But well, solar panels themselves have the technology has increased and they've come way down in price to what they were
Mm-hmm.
originally. And but the thing is, though, is that the amount of power they produce has not really improved that much at all. I think
And then
that,
the batteries.
and then yes, the storage facility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to understand when you're talking about this is that you're removing gas powered uh, products
Mm-hmm.
or stuff that's plugged into the wall with something that is charged by the sun and has to go into a battery to run, right? So you
Or
have
to
to
be stored too, right? Like if it's
right
a house.
to store the energy so that you can
Mm-hmm.
run this equipment, right? Instead of plugging it into the wall or
Mm-hmm.
running it off of a motor. And so they've increased some of the battery systems in some of the cars there. They come up with a newer system that that self cools, but it's still its capacity and its is not anywhere near to the scale that would need to change all the rest of the infrastructure around as of today. And I don't think it's going to be anywhere close in the next 50 years. But
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong about that too. But it's I don't see it. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was the one show there, Route del Sol, and you can follow that along on one of the YouTube channels. And the guy had
Mm-hmm.
made they constructed this solar van to go from the Arctic Circle to go all the way down to the bottom of South America. And I think he only
Wow.
made it. He only made it, I think, into about Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And but the problems that he encountered was like he had written on there that it's a 100% solar powered
Excuse me.
vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times he had to go and plug into the power grid to charge his batteries because he couldn't get enough
Mm-hmm.
sunlight to charge up, and it
Right.
would take too long. And then they had an accident when they were somewhere down, it was in
Oh
Baja
no.
or Mexico, yeah, where the wind had picked up and it ripped off all the solar panels that were on top of the roof and destroyed them all. Eh?
Oh, that'd be heartbroken.
Yeah,
Broken.
so then
Breaking.
then the whole part with the COVID happened and with traveling and stuff like that, and it was just I haven't seen any more updates there
Yeah,
recently.
but
I
didn't
think
you
that
say also that the batteries don't last forever? Like where do you get rid of these? Like they're so large, right? Like how
yeah,
do you break them down or, you know, dispose of them, right?
that's the part, the stuff that they're made of that you have to mine to create these things. Is there's a
Mm-hmm.
like they thought there was they always talk about this big problem with nuclear energy and about getting rid of the spent rods and how long they're going to be for that. Well, just think about you got 7.6 million people and say Everybody's got
Mm-hmm.
a car or something that runs off of some sort of power source and that. So everybody's got at least one big battery each,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a lot of batteries to be out there, and that's a lot of that's a lot of waste product, and that's a lot of mining to create that stuff in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's so many questions. There's so much things that are so I don't think that are really looked into the scale and of what it all is. And I always sort of it's frustrating. It makes me laugh, but it's also frustrating to listen to people like AOC and in the states and the rest of their parties talking about all this green, going green, being green, and
Mm-hmm.
this is what we have to do. But none of them are leading the charge on doing anything themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're driving around in the cars, they're flying in the planes. They you don't see anything with them doing anything. They're buying stuff that's made from factories that they
Excuse me.
right.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done anything that like it's always like this is the way you should do it. It's for you to do, not for me to do. It's for you to do, right? And that's the way you always see that these upper elite.
One rule for thee, one rule for me. Haven't we seen a lot of that the last
Yeah,
couple of years?
yeah, but
Like I said, the more I see this, the more, like I said, it's almost like this had to happen the way that it did. And I've often said too that sometimes when you look back on your life, being the global you or even myself, some of the times when the worst things seem to have happened and you can't see it right in the beginning, but when you look back, and sometimes it could be a day, not usually. Sometimes it's 6 months later, sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's even longer. But when you look back, you realize that things had to happen the way that they did if you choose to look at things this way, because you're able to see the bigger picture that for whatever reasons, say, I don't know, step A happened. And it was one of the worst things that ever happened to a person, right? And there's people that'll say, why me? This is awful, and fall into the victim mentality. And I'm not saying that with judgment. Or there's people that, yeah, they'll say it sucks. It really sucks what happened. I don't know why, bad things happen, whatever that may be. But they're able to look back with a bit of time passing, whether it be healing or whatever it is that happens. And they look back and they go, holy crap, you know what, that needed to happen that way. Because if it didn't, I wouldn't be where I am today, if you know what I mean. Like they're able to embrace it all, if you will, about that there was a reason why. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's true. Like it's almost like you come to the realization there's a reason why things happen the way they do.
mm-hmm,
Everything happens for a reason. That's the saying. That's what it is. So it
right.
kind of starts to make some sense, right?
Mm-hmm,
So I don't know. I don't know. I guess tonight, like I knew we were going to kind of go all around the world and back again. We were, but there were so many things to discuss. So we touched on a few things here and there because I think it's so important, like, to have conversations like this. And I hope that there's other people out there that can have conversations, say, with open minded friends or open minded groups, or, even like I said, to remember how powerful we all are as human beings. And, I even use the analogy of somebody's in a room pitch dark. All they've got is one match. Like they can't even see their hand in front of their face. But you strike that match up, that one little tiny match, and look at how far that light goes. So it's, we've been talking about energy. That's kind of like what can come from one human being. Because I've met so many people who say, well, what can I do? It's just little old me, or I'm just one person. One person could change the world. It's how you choose to look at it and believe in it. And you know what I mean? Even if you have to find like minded people, um, just leave the world a better place than when you entered it, if you will. And I'm not talking about the day you die. What I'm saying is, throughout life, try to leave, even every day, you know, leave by the time the nighttime comes, you've done something positive for, say, other people that made it better for their lives better is what I'm trying to say. So, and some people think the whole world's got to be told when they do something good about it. Because I always say, even random acts of kindness, it's such a gift to yourself, really. It really is. Most people I know that when you're able to help other people out, and not everybody's this way, but I find a lot of people are like that, that a lot of people get a lot of satisfaction from being able to help other people. What's your thoughts quickly on that?
Yeah, yeah. There's a good Samaritan, I guess. You don't have to be the Boy Scout out there or Girl Scout out there
No,
every day and searching for this sort of stuff. But
no, not
the,
searching. No.
the thing is, though, is that just to notice things, and that's and if you're able to share a
Yeah.
hand. But the thing is, this is sort of interesting, is that culture I've noticed is like especially in big
Hmm.
towns, like when I've mentioned this to you a lot of times. There was that I was living up here in Thunder Bay, and then I moved down. Uh, I was in Nakina for a while. That's an even
Hmm.
smaller town than here, and then moved down to Toronto. And the first thing I noticed when I was there is that no one would look
Hmm.
at you, and
Hmm.
if they went by, they looked at the ground, or you looked away, or looked something like
Hmm.
that, which was a big difference. And there's this sort of this like you're not going to know 2.5 million people down in Metro Toronto, everyone like that,
Hmm.
but it was just this whole part of people in a rush to get nowhere fast,
Hmm.
and to be very, I guess, closed off and alone. Like it's really weird to say that you'd be alone in such a huge city, but
Hmm.
that's the way it sort of looked like and felt.
Well, I want to thank Dave for being here. We've got, I hope I'm saying your name right, Jagavind Shastri over on LinkedIn. And anybody else who's listening, now, if you guys ever want to join in the conversation, I did mention at the beginning of the show, please come on over. The show's every night live on Monday nights. I believe I'm having another fellow host, if he's still able to make it, and I believe he is so far, is Jeffrey Pritchett from his show on Friday nights here on the network. We're trying, most of us hosts, to have other hosts on our show to get you guys to kind of see who they are, learn about them, what's their show about. And we have amazing hosts on this network. We really, really do. There's something, and shows too, there's something for everybody on here. So please don't forget to check out the YouTube membership on our main channel, UFO Paranormal Radio network channel. Like I said, by you supporting us, you also get little extra bonuses. Well, not little, actually, quite a few bonus contents and things like that. So check it out. I want to thank the Dell for being here. You want to tell them where they can find you very quickly, Dell?
Yep, you can find me on Thursday nights at 6 Central, 7 Eastern, right here on UPRN. It's the UFO Paranormal Radio, or UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. And yeah, Facebook and whatever else
The
there's on
delicious
there.
stories too to get
Yeah,
a hold of you, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm. At gmail.com.
correct. Yeah,
Uh,
I
Pam
was just trying
Sears
to.
says, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just trying to remember exactly what I had there. Yeah, the delicious stories at gmail.com. Yeah, that's
Yes, at
correct.
gmail.com. Sorry, Pam, you just joined in here on LinkedIn. Yes, yes, you can go live, or at least we've been able to. Um, she said we didn't know you could do lives here. Yes, you can. So I want to join. Sorry, my mouth is not working tonight, guys. It's a holiday today. We decided we were going to do our show tonight, and I'm so glad that you guys hung out with us. So if you want to join us here, like I said, Dell on Thursday nights, myself here on Monday nights, it's 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm live every Monday night, and I usually have different guests and all kinds of different discussions. I'd love to have you join me over here and join in part of the discussion. So, like I said, I'll be back same time, same place next week, next Monday, with fellow host Jeffrey Pritchett. I want to thank you wherever you may be. I send you all so much love and light, and have a good morning, good afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be. Take care. Thanks, Dal. Thanks,
Yeah.
Dave.